The night Guns N' Roses tore Street, Louis apart. 1991, I was there. Front and center at the Riverport Amphitheater, packed in with thousands of sweaty, fired-up fans. Guns N' Roses were killing it, but the crowd was getting rough, shoving, moshing, and people already looking for trouble. Then Axl lost it. I saw him pointing into the front row, shouting about some guy with a camera. Next thing I knew, he jumped straight into the crowd. Total chaos. Security swarmed, trying to pull him out. Fists were flying, people pushing in from all sides. When they finally got Axl back on stage, he grabbed the mic, looked out at the crowd and said, "Well, thanks to the lame-ass security, I'm going home." Then he stormed off. Band gone, lights still on. And then the place erupted. People started tearing the place apart, ripping at barricades, smashing bottles, climbing onto the stage, screaming for the band to come back. I was stuck right in the middle of it, trying to move, but bodies were slamming into me from every direction. A fight broke out right next to me. Two guys just swinging wild, crashing into people who had nothing to do with it. Some dude grabbed me, shoving his way through, and I barely stayed on my feet. I've trained in Muay Thai, so I know how to handle myself. But there was no fighting your way out of this. It was survival. Security was completely overwhelmed. I saw people ripping seats off the bleachers. Yeah, the amphitheater had fixed seating in parts of it, and throwing them. Others climbed onto the stage, trashing the band's gear. I knew I had to get out before it got worse. By the time I made it to the exits, the police had arrived. Riot shields, batons, everything. I got shoved hard from behind and hit the pavement. Some guy tried to help me up, but before I could even get steady, the cops started charging in, knocking people down, trying to regain control. I don't even know how I got out without serious injuries. A bruised rib, a split lip, and an insane story. By the end of the night, the place was wrecked. Over 60 people were injured, dozens arrested, and Guns N' Roses were banned from St. Louis for life. Rock and roll, man. The night Joe Berg went mad. Date, location unknown. I swear I didn't even see it coming. One second I was standing by the bar at this packed club in Johannesburg, just enjoying my drink, and the next, all hell broke loose. It started with two guys shoving each other near the dance floor. You could tell it was over some girl, always is. One dude pushed the other hard, and he went crashing into a table, spilling drinks everywhere. That's when things just exploded. Some guy who had nothing to do with it got pissed about his drink being spilled and threw a punch at the nearest person. That's all it took. Within seconds, it was chaos. Fists flying, drinks smashing, people screaming. It wasn't just the guys either. I saw a woman straight up launch a bottle at someone's head. Another chick was pulling a guy's hair while he tried to wrestle someone else to the ground. I tried to back up, keep out of it, but someone shoved me hard from behind, and I went forward into the mess. Before I could even react, I felt a fist connect with my jaw. Bang! Pure shock. I stumbled. Then another hit caught me on the side of the head. Didn't even see who did it. Now I was in it, whether I liked it or not. Instinct kicked in, and I threw a punch at the nearest person, connected with his ribs. He went down, but another guy grabbed me by the collar and swung. I ducked, but I lost my balance and hit the floor hard. That's when I saw security wading in, trying to break it up, but even they were getting clocked. Then I heard the sirens. Someone must have called the cops, because suddenly, blue lights were flashing through the club windows. People started scrambling for the exits, but there were still pockets of fighting going on. My head was spinning, and when I tried to get up, I realized I couldn't. My side was on fire, like I'd been hit with a brick. That's when I saw the blood on my shirt. No idea how it got there, whether I was cut, hit, or landed on glass. Next thing I knew, I was in an ambulance, sirens screaming as they rushed me to the hospital. Turns out I had a mild concussion, a busted lip, and bruised ribs. Nothing serious, but damn, I felt like I'd been hit by a train. The next day, I found out the club got shut down for the night, a bunch of people got arrested, and some poor dude had to get stitches because someone cracked a bottle over his head, and me? Well, I'm just lucky I didn't get worse. But one thing's for sure, I'm never going back to that place again. Alice at the Palace, November 19th, 2004. I should have just gone home early. The game was basically over. Pacers were up big, less than a minute left, and people were already heading for the exits. But no, I stayed. I wanted to watch the final seconds, soak in the atmosphere. I had no idea I was about to witness one of the craziest nights in sports history, and barely make it out without getting my head knocked off. It started when Ron Artest fouled Ben Wallace. Hard. Too hard for a meaningless play in a game that was already decided. Wallace wasn't having it. He shoved Artest with everything he had, and suddenly the players were in each other's faces. The crowd, me included, jumped to our feet, expecting a fight. But security got in the middle, and Artest did something weird. He walked away and laid down on the scorer's table like he was taking a damn nap. People around me were laughing, but I could feel the tension still in the air. Wallace was still fuming, the fans were booing, and then it happened. Someone behind me, some idiot, threw a full cup of beer. Time slowed down. I watched it fly in an arc over the crowd, flipping end over end before smacking Artest right in the chest. And that's when all hell broke loose. Artest snapped. He didn't even hesitate. He just bolted into the stands, charging toward where the beer came from. 1 second he was lying on the table. The next he was throwing punches at some dude in a blue shirt. And suddenly there were bodies flying everywhere. People were screaming, pushing, trying to get out of the way. I turned to run, but someone shoved me hard from behind, and I nearly fell over the seat in front of me. I barely caught myself before looking up and seeing Steven Jackson, another Pacers player, jumping into the stands, swinging wild. Security? Nowhere. They couldn't stop this. Fans started throwing drinks, popcorn, whatever they had at the players, and I saw Artest and Jackson swinging back at anyone dumb enough to stay close. It wasn't just a fight anymore, it was a riot. Then, it spilled onto the court. 2 drunk idiots ran onto the floor, thinking they could square up with professional athletes. Big mistake. Artest decked one. Then Jermaine O'Neal came flying in like he was sliding into home plate and threw the hardest punch I've ever seen in my life. He caught the guy clean in the jaw and he just crumpled. I thought he was dead. At this point, I was fighting just to get out. Chairs were knocked over, people were trampling each other, and my jacket got yanked so hard, I thought someone was trying to choke me. I ducked as a drink flew past my head and the police finally stormed in. Cops started grabbing people, pulling players away, trying to drag fans out of the mess. I squeezed through a gap between 2 rows and sprinted up the stairs. I turned back once, just in time to see Artest being dragged off the court. Fans still screaming, still throwing stuff. The floor was covered in trash, spilled beer, and God knows what else. I finally made it outside, my heart pounding so hard I thought it'd explode. People were still yelling, some laughing, some bleeding. I checked myself over. Somehow, I wasn't hurt, just shaken. The next day, it was all over the news. People arrested. Artists suspended for the season. The NBA was never the same after that. And me? I never sat courtside again. Some things you just don't want to be close to. The night the skinheads came. East London, 1983. I'll never forget that night. East London, 1983. I was 24, heading home after a long shift, just minding my business. The air was cool, streets half empty, just the odd drunk stumbling out of a pub. Then I heard it, the roar of boots on pavement, voices shouting, laughing, breaking the quiet. I turned the corner and there they were, a gang of 12 skinheads, charging down the road like a pack of wild dogs. I knew the type. Bald heads, bomber jackets, steel-toe boots, National Front scum. I'd seen them before, hanging about, picking fights. But this time, they weren't looking for a row. They were out for blood. First bloke they saw. Some poor sod walking with his missus, smashed him straight in the face, sent him sprawling. His girl screamed, tried to drag him away, but one of them kicked him in the ribs so hard I heard the crack from where I stood. I should have run, should have turned right back the way I came. But then I saw him going after two kids, a pair of Bangladeshi lads, couldn't have been older than 15. They were trying to get away, but the skinheads were on them fast, shoving, swinging fists. One of them had a bloody bike chain wrapped around his hand. I didn't think. I just moved. I sprinted across the road, grabbed the nearest skinhead, big lad, built like a brick shithouse, and shoved him so hard he went flying into the others. That gave the two kids just enough time to bolt. "Oi, you want to get stuck in, do ya?" one of them snarled. Before I could answer, a fist cracked across my jaw, and suddenly I was in it. I threw a punch back, caught one in the gut, but there were too many of them. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground, boots smashing into my ribs, my legs, my bloody face. I curled up, trying to protect my head, but the pain was everywhere. I could taste blood, hear the sickening thud, thud, thud of their kicks. Then, sirens. The bastards scattered like cockroaches. I barely remember the coppers pulling me up, just flashes of blue lights, voices, someone asking my name. I spent the night in hospital. 2 cracked ribs, a busted lip, and a face that looked like a pub carpet after closing time. The kids? They got away. That's all that mattered. Did the police catch those skinhead pricks? Doubt it. In those days, they didn't look too hard. But me? I knew I did the right thing. And in East London in 1983, that was enough. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It really helps us grow the channel. And if you've got your own crazy fight stories, send them in to afistfuloffstories@gmail.com. We'd love to feature them. See you next time.